What up, world? We back in here with one more reaction video, ladies and gentlemen. And this one comes from the Academy of Ideas, a fantastic YouTube channel. Definitely go subscribe to them if you have not. Now, I got a text message the other day, and it said, it asked me what I thought about Trump potentially getting Greenland and Canada. And I haven't done a lot of research into those topics at all. However, I came across this video, Decentralization and Freedom, and it kind of correlated with a few things that's going on in the world, especially with the quote-unquote one world government, the Agenda 2030, and all those quote-unquote conspiracy theories, New World Order. I don't know. So if you dig what you hear in this video, leave some comments below and let me know what your thoughts are, as well as share far and wide. Reporting live from Kansas City, Missouri at 6 a.m.
Governments are responsible for some of the greatest atrocities in history. The 20th century was particularly brutal in this respect, with tens of millions of people dying at the hands of their own government. It is said that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Thus, in this video, relying on Leopold Kohr's fascinating book, The Breakdown of Nations, we will examine the factors that contribute to the rise of tyrannical government, and with this knowledge discuss how the threat of tyranny can best be mitigated. To account for the rise of oppressive government, many explanations have been put forth. However, there are two theories which have been especially prominent. These are the ideological and personal theories. The ideological theory proposes that oppressive government is primarily the result of bad ideas infiltrating a society, while the personal theory places blame at the feet of morally corrupt or even malevolent leaders who deceive their way into power and then wreak havoc on the nations which they rule. There is some truth to both theories, as leaders such as Stalin, Hitler, and Mao, to name but a few of the morally corrupt politicians of the 20th century, were responsible for much suffering. It is also obvious that when entire nations fall victim to corrupt ideologies, be it Nazism or Stalin's communism, that the proliferation of these beliefs also assists in the growth of tyranny. Leopold Kohr, however, suggests that there is another factor more fundamental to the rise of tyranny than either ideology or the ruler in power. This factor is the size of the social unit, or in other words, the population of a society ruled under a single governing entity. That there are issues with large social units has long been recognized. Aristotle cautioned that, to the size of states there is a limit, while also stating that, for law is order, and good law is good order, but a very great multitude cannot be orderly. While Aristotle recognized that limitations exist on the size at which societies can properly function, in The Breakdown of Nations, Kohr makes the related assertion that the larger the population of a society, the more prone it is to tyrannical rule, and the more brutal the tyranny will be.
That right there is what caught my eye when I was watching this video, because I know a lot of governments are very impressed with how well China is able to keep its citizens in line. Whether they agree or disagree with the social credit score and all those things, you really don't hear a lot of uproar and outrage coming from China. Not a lot of protests, not a lot of revolts, as you see here in the West. So it made me think, if this one world government does take over, this 2030 thing does happen, can you imagine the oppression that's going to happen when you try to speak up and raise your voice? It made me think of the guy from Russia that came to the United States. I can't remember his name. Yuji or I'll have to look at his name and try to get linking in the comments below. But he talked about Soviet subversion and all those things. And when you can demoralize the people, they won't know what's going on. And it seems the bigger our population gets, the more hip hop degenerate culture becomes popular as well, which is lowering the morality of human beings. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm just trying to learn.
As the population of a society grows, the potential power of its government grows with it. For like a parasite whose growth is checked by the size of the host, the growth of state power is checked by the number of subjects under its control. As populations expand, more economic resources are placed at the disposal of those in charge. More bodies can be used as cannon fodder to fight their battles, while an ever greater disconnect emerges between the citizens and government officials. Furthermore,
to pause it right there, living in a blue state in America, one of the greatest scams is the quote-unquote war on poverty, or the war on housing, or the war on crime, or the war on single mothers, or you name it, because they throw a bunch of money into that issue and it never gets fixed. And the minute the citizens start saying, hey, why we ain't fixed the roads? Oh, we're over here fighting crime now. And if you look up and the homicide rate keeps going up, hey, why homicide ain't going down? Oh, we're fixing housing now. And then you realize a bunch of homeless people. Oh, we're fixing. They keep moving the goalposts, while stealing money from you. It's the biggest scam in the world, and I've just learned that in my short period of life.
In the attempt to cope with the immense complexities of a populous society, those in government always see the solution as more government control,
Man,
thus further increasing
give
their
us
power.
more money.
If this growth in government power is unchecked, a dangerous tipping point is reached whereby those in charge come to believe they are so powerful that their actions are immune from any form of retaliation. This is the point of no return, or what Core calls the critical magnitude of abuse, as this amount of power corrupts even the most virtuous among us.
That's why
Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, Lord Acton famously observed, while Alexander Solzhenitsyn echoed this sentiment, writing, "Unlimited power in the hands of limited people always leads to cruelty." The combination of the corrupting influence of power and the immense social complexities of a large society makes tyranny inevitable when this power is placed in the hands of fallible beings who try and control multitudes of people. If this hypothesis of Core's is true, that excessive size of the social unit is the primary cause of tyranny due to the growth in government power that it breeds, then it follows that the best way to counteract tyranny is through decentralization.
It made me think of social media as well, right? That's why there's so much restriction and suppression, because ideas can travel around the world faster than ever before. And if you got $1, I got $1, we just exchange $1. But if you got an idea and I got an idea, we can come up with 100,000 different ideas that will elevate us and get us through our oppression and through the low vibrational smoke screen of lack, because there is no lack, there is no limitations. Abundance is here for all of us.
Shrinking the size of the social units, which in the modern world would entail the breakdown of the massive nation-states, would greatly limit the potential power of any one government. But in addition to the limitations on power that arise from smaller populations, decentralization also checks the growth of power by creating competition between social units. If a community becomes too oppressed...
Hey, so one more question for y'all. My apologies for pausing the video so much, but as Tupac said, even a genius asks questions. Do you think it's a good idea for America to snatch up the Gulf of Mexico and Canada and Greenland and all that, with knowing the Agenda 2030 thing that's going on? Let me know in your comments below.
When this power is placed in the hands of fallible beings who try and control multitudes of people. If this hypothesis of Core's is true, that excessive size of the social unit is the primary cause of tyranny due to the growth in government power that it breeds, then it follows that the best way to counteract tyranny is through decentralization. Shrinking the size of the social units, which in the modern world would entail the breakdown of the massive nation-states, would greatly limit the potential power of any one government. But in addition to the limitations on power that arise from smaller populations, decentralization also checks the growth of power by creating competition between social units. If a community becomes too oppressive, residents can easily vote with their feet and relocate to one of a multitude of other communities. As people flee oppression, the people doing the oppressing will soon lose their power and thus their ability to commit social predation. This happens to a degree in the modern world of nation-states, but clearly the competition will be far more impactful with a proliferation in the number of sovereign communities. Decentralization also minimizes the impact that morally corrupt or even psychopathic individuals can have on the world. In Robert Hare's classic book on psychopathy, Without Conscience, he lists the most prominent traits of psychopaths. Psychopaths, he explains, are egocentric individuals who lack feelings of remorse and guilt, lack the ability to empathize, and are skilled at deception and manipulation. In other words, psychopaths possess traits very useful to those who desire power. The best way to deal with the threat that these people pose is to limit the power they can obtain, and thus the damage they can do, and again, this is best achieved through decentralization. As Core explains, there is nothing in the constitution of men or states that can prevent the rise of dictators. Power maniacs exist everywhere. The only difference lies in the degree of tyrannical government, which, in turn, depends once more on the size and power of the countries falling victim to it. While decentralization can help check the rise of tyranny, it offers additional benefits, such as the minimization of group conflicts. Not all people desire to live in communities organized under the same social institutions. Some people favor free markets, while others believe that socialism is a far more just way to organize a society.
Speaking of him saying that, man, it makes me think back to the whole civil rights movement. And there's a book called Color, Communism, and Common Sense by a man, Manning Johnson. I don't know if you heard of him, but definitely go check out his book and also listen to Manning Johnson's farewell speech because he spoke against the civil rights bill for this issue. He said it would put everybody in America in slavery, quote unquote, and it took away your individual freedoms. And to see where we are now, I truly believe that the civil rights movement was a communist socialist movement. But you guys can let me know what you think in the comments below.
Some want to live in communities primarily with people of their own ethnicity, while others favor living with a diverse multitude of ethnicities. In a world of massive nation-states, these conflicting groups must battle for state power in order to have their views imposed on all.
Red and blue.
But decentralization offers a far more peaceful option, as Core explains. Why should not as many individuals have as many different institutions as they like,
Right.
instead of having all to use a single costume, which
Yeah.
half of them might consider not to their taste?
Truly, like, why should we have to fight over the LGBT and all that? Like, let them have their own little land. Y'all don't need y'all flag at the White House. Y'all can have Oregon. That could be where y'all go mingle at.
Organized under the same social institutions.
Actually, in downtown Philadelphia, I was out there doing some door knocking for Dave McCormick, running for Senate. And there's a neighborhood called the Gayborhood in downtown Philadelphia. No lie, no cap. Crazy as hell.
Some people favor free markets, while others believe that socialism is a far more just way to organize a society. Some want to live in communities primarily with people of their own ethnicity, while others favor living with a diverse multitude of ethnicities. In a world of massive nation-states, these conflicting groups must battle for state power in order to have their views imposed on all. But decentralization offers a far more peaceful option, as Core explains. Why should not as many individuals have as many different institutions as they like, instead of having all to use a single costume which half of them might consider not to their taste? If freedom of choice is considered an advantage economically, why not also politically? For with a great multitude of systems prevailing in an area inhabited by hundreds of millions of people, it becomes mathematically inevitable that far more individuals are able to obtain what their hearts desire than if the same region were to permit only a single system. Even as in a restaurant, many more people can obtain satisfaction if the menu includes a great variety of dishes, rather than a single one, which can be made palatable to all only through the propaganda of the cook. In allowing for a multitude of social systems to emerge, and people to experiment with a variety of institutional arrangements, the objective judge of reality is awakened. Those societies which flourish will be mimicked, while those that fail act as warnings for what to avoid. This method of social experimentation is far more stable than the large-scale social experimentation seen today. A radically decentralized world localizes the impact of institutional failure, while centralization universalizes it. When a social experiment fails in a radically decentralized world, the impact is primarily felt by a relatively small number of people who, in most cases, based on their decision to live in that community, desired such conditions. In contrast, when a social experiment fails in today's world of massive nation-states, the impact is felt by many millions of people who had no real say in the matter. While decentralization offers great benefits, many still fear it, as they believe it will lead to a proliferation of isolated communities. This is a misguided view, and the relative lack of hermit kingdoms throughout history supports this assertion. Humans are social beings, and great benefits emerge from trade and social cooperation. Thus, in a more decentralized world, most communities will operate in an open and cooperative manner, with isolationist communities being the exception. Decentralization, it must be stressed, does not necessarily mean an increase in barriers preventing the movement of goods and people. Rather, it means more boundaries, and as Core explains, boundaries help maintain order and promote human flourishing. All our instincts drive us constantly to create boundaries, not to tear them down. We draw them around our gardens in the form of fences, and within our houses in the form of walls separating our rooms. Boundaries are shelters, and for that reason they must be close to us and narrow. To tear them from human societies would be like tearing away the shell from the body of a tortoise, or the shore from the ocean. But boundaries are not barriers. What we want to keep from the harbor is the storm, not the sea. It is the barriers, then, which are detrimental to human development, not the protecting boundaries whose function is to keep things within healthy limits. Now, more than ever, the world needs more boundaries, not fewer. Instead of forcing conflicting groups to fight for state power, in the hopes that with such power they can impose their views on all, why not let those who disagree live in peace in their own communities?
Dude.
In so doing, power will be dispersed among far more people and the risk of tyranny greatly diminished. If, on the other hand, we continue moving in the direction of more centralization, if we increasingly tear down boundaries, we will not be creating a freer world. Rather, we will only be permitting the concentration of power in the hands of ever fewer
world
people.
order.
And as Core wisely noted, to the extent that government is strong, the individual is weak, with the result that even if his title is citizen, his position is that of subject.
Ooh. So let me know in the comments below. Are y'all pro centralization? Are you want to decentralize? I know that's why Bitcoin is so popular. Because it's not regulated. And now you see what's going on with China with the social credit system. If there becomes a one world government, I'm almost positive that that's going worldwide. And I know they're going to have me at the bottom. And you watching content like this as well, you may be looked at as a little suspicious as well. But I firmly believe that no man is your friend, no man is your enemy, everyone is your teacher. And I'm just trying to learn in this thing called life. And life is evolving and moving daily. So share your thoughts, share your perspective with the world. Do you think it's a good thing? Like I would not say that the moves for Canada or Greenland, I don't know if they would be bad or good. I just know in 4 years you got another election. And the power may swing back to the other side. And you saw what they just did the last 4 years. So you know they're gonna come real hard. We all had that virus 2020 that swept across the world, and then there's rumors that another one is gonna be coming. And all of it is to keep you in a state of fear. That's what I've learned in my brief period of living life. And the thing about faith and fear is they both require you to believe in something you cannot see. So I'm going to stand on the side of faith. Psalms 91, I'm dwelling in the shelter of the Most High. Romans 8:31, if God is for us, it don't matter who's against us. I'm encouraging you to come over here and join me in the side of faith as well. This world wants you sad with anxiety, depression, not believing yourself, not loving yourself. But the future is right. And it's the great divide. You can vibrate low or you can vibrate high. And what I'm saying is high vibrations only, baby. Thanks for consuming my art. And I look forward to consuming your art one